Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our afternoon webinar, Living with Hearing Loss webinar series. I'm Christopher Sutton, the National Executive Director for the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says closed captions. If you push that button, it'll allow you to see the captions. For this recording, we're going to ask everyone to mute themselves and to keep their cameras off. We're very excited to have everyone here today, and we have a very special webinar with Karen, who is going to be talking, who is an audiologist and a certified auditory-verbal therapist, and she's going to be talking about ear candy. So, if you all know, the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association is the largest organization serving the needs of people with hearing loss across the country, and we're very happy to have you here today. So right now I'm going to welcome Karen to begin the presentation, and if you have any questions, we will ask you to either send me in a message to the chat box, or you can raise your hand and we'll save the questions for the end of the session. So Karen, are you there?
Yep.
I don't see your video. Have you accepted the video?
It says that you stopped it.
Okay, so let me start it again. Sorry.
Here we go. Hi. All right, so what I'm gonna do, share my screen. Hi, everybody. It is such a pleasure to be with all of you, and I hope that you find some helpful information out of this presentation, and there is something at least for someone to go away with. This is such a broad and complex topic that really requires a lot of one-on-one individualized attention. So I am happy to answer any of the questions that you might have after the presentation, and I'm sure that my email address will be shared in case anybody has any further questions. I just want to talk a little bit about me. I am an audiologist, and I chose an area of audiology that focuses on oral rehabilitation or auditory skills training. And that means that I help infants and children and adults make the best out of their hearing with their hearing technology. I don't focus on lip reading or general communication strategies. My job is to focus on what you can get out of the hearing technology. And if you need more, then we work a little bit more on general overall communication strategies that you can use to help make listening more successful for you. A little bit about myself. I am also hearing impaired, and I was born with a hearing loss, a severe to profound hearing loss, and I wore bilateral hearing aids since the time of diagnosis, which was 3 years and 11 months of age. and I wore them since up until I was 39 years of age. And while I was working as an audiologist, I had to make use of my bilateral hearing aids, my 2 hearing aids, and assistive listening technology so that I could hear the children and the families that I was working with. I had a lot of difficulty hearing some high frequency speech sounds and really depended on using the best hearing technology that was available at the time. And as you can see, while I was working with children in the therapy sessions, I was wearing a neck loop here.
Karen, can I interrupt you for a moment? We seem to be having some technical issues. So just one moment, sorry. Thank you. I'll mute you for a moment, okay? Unless you want to mute yourself. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christopher Sutton with the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association. We're very pleased to have you join us this afternoon for our Living with Hearing Loss webinar series. We're very thrilled to have Karen MacIver-Lux join us today, who will be discussing some very interesting stuff. If you need to access closed captions, there's at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a CC button. Press that. If you have any questions, just scroll over your name in the participant area and raise your hand, or send me a direct message through the chat box, and we'll leave those questions for the very end. Without any further ado, I now invite Karen.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to speak a little bit slower and pause for the captioning to catch up. There is nothing worse than seeing something and not being able to hear and having the captioning behind. And I blame this on the speed of the internet and not the captioner. I want to thank the captioner in advance for her work. Welcome, everyone. I am an audiologist, and I work with very young children and adults who want to make the best of their listening skills with their cochlear implant or their hearing aids or any other hearing device that they are wearing. I am also an audiologist with hearing loss. I was born with a hearing loss and did not start wearing hearing aids until I was 4 years old. When I started doing therapy with children and adults and their families, I realized that I was having a little bit of difficulty, or maybe a lot of difficulty, hearing some of the speech sounds that children were expected to produce, like S, F, and TH. And sometimes I had a lot of difficulty hearing them. And so to cope with this, I used assistive hearing assistive hearing technology. And you will see in this picture here that I am wearing my FM system, and the child is wearing the microphone of my FM system so that I could hear him better. So I guess one of the first things that I would like you to take away from this presentation is, in order to make ear candy, you really need to think about getting the very best hearing technology that you can. And not only that, but make sure that the hearing technology is programmed optimally to help you hear, so that spoken language can be easy to hear, easy to understand, and enjoyable to listen to. And so this is what this presentation is all about. I also wanted to talk about the fact that I got a cochlear implant in 2009. So we won't go into how old I was then, except to say that I was, 39 years old when I got the cochlear implant, and my brain, the auditory centers of the brain, were already wired after having listened with hearing aids for so many years. And so in 2009, I got my left ear implanted, and it failed gradually. And so in 2011, I had the implant in the left ear explanted and a new implant reimplanted. So I know how it's like to listen in very difficult situations, and that is just with the device alone, not to mention the outside world that we all live in. Okay, so what is ear candy? Ear candy is what I describe as something that is very enjoyable to listen to, and something that brings us a lot of joy, a lot of confidence, and connection with others, and something that makes us feel really good. So when we have an interaction, when we have a listening experience with music, the ear candy is the part that makes you feel really good. And that is what we will be talking about today. I want to make very clear, and this is, I guess, sort of a disclaimer, and that is, ear candy does not mean 100% speech discrimination abilities in every listening situation. A lot of people with hearing loss do very, very well understanding speech in noisy situations, which is the highest level of listening. And they are very happy about that. But they also complain that, they have difficulty understanding speech in noisy situations. And guess what? People with normal, typical hearing have difficulty too. And there are always going to be communication breakdowns. And so what I want to say is that even if you do not understand speech in noisy situations all the time with 100% accuracy, I want you to feel good about what it is that you can do and try some strategies and training and some tips of what we can do to improve what you are able to hear and understand at this time. So I'm going to help you make ear candy. I'm not going to promise 100% speech discrimination skills, but that's not what ear candy is all about. It's about helping you to feel better about what it is that you hear and then discover even better and more advanced listening skills. And this is what we are going to talk about. Now, we're going to talk about the recipe for ear candy step by step. There are a few things that you need to know first. The brain is very busy, and it's busy all the time. And we need to develop an understanding. The patients that I work with, the clients that I work with, my friends, even me, we need to understand that the brain is a miraculous organ that is processing all kinds of information from all senses, our organs, and it is amazing the type of processing speed that our brain has. Our brain works on a philosophy that what's important, it will work on first. The brain also likes and will work on what you like. So let's say I'm not happy with the fact that I can't hear at a party and I'm so annoyed. I am so angry. I can't hear at this party. Already your brain says, I don't like this noise. I don't like this party. And I'm not going to even try to improve your listening at this party. Because if you don't like it, I don't like it. The brains require positivity to grow and to change and to work on what it is that you need it to work on. So let's go back to the party. If you're angry, if you're negative, frustrated, the brain will shut down and it won't even try, which creates this vicious cycle of not being able to hear, and your listening skills actually get worse in that difficult listening situation, which makes you even more frustrated. And then the brain says, I'm even more angry about this party and I'm gonna shut down even more. So it creates this vicious cycle that makes your listening worse than it actually could be. You need to have positivity and you need to shut down or try to manage your levels of frustration, your fears, low self levels of confidence. For example, I hate calling visa companies and talking to them on the phone. I get very nervous. And the more nervous I am, the more scared I am, the less able I am to hear. So we need to give practice. Number one, we need to be patient, and we almost need to reframe our mind and think positively instead of negatively. Going back to that party situation where, oh my gosh, I'm not hearing. And you say, wow, you need to reframe that by saying, I'm hearing all of this noise. This is really fantastic. I'm so glad that I have the technology to hear. And, oh, there's someone who is talking. I really want to hear what they have to say. And so you need to zoom in positively, and after enough of doing this, your brain will automatically change and restructure itself, and it will work harder for you so that you can hear in noisy situations. Okay? There is actually research to back this up. This is not wishful thinking. Now, when people get a new type of hearing technology that provides more stimulation to the brain than it ever received, for example, getting a cochlear implant for the first time. I had a severe to profound hearing loss, and even though I could hear the presence of an S, it sounded so soft and it was so hard to hear, and more often than not, I could not hear it in speech. Okay? But I knew it was supposed to sound like an airy, breathy, static-like type sound. When my brain got a cochlear implant, it went through a drastic change, which I call an auditory brain change. And the stage is called the auditory brain change stage. And so what does that mean? So when I am learning to listen, you really need to start out getting this cochlear implant, or if you've had the implant for a long time, you need to think about, okay, the positivity thing. And I need to find something that I can hear and be really grateful for it, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, when you're going through this auditory brain change stage, it's very scary and very foreign sounding. Let me give you an example of what happened to me. After getting a cochlear implant, I took my daughter to a swimming pool at a hotel that had a beautiful swimming pool with an infinity waterfall. And when I went into this room, I imagined that I would be able to hear this waterfall the way that I did with the hearing aid. That's not what happened. With the cochlear implant providing electro or neuroelectric signals to the brain says, whoa, 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 what is this? I've never heard this before, and I'm going to interpret it as something different. So instead of hearing the waterfall, the trickling, the constant shh type sound of the waterfall, all I heard was described as a clacking sound. Now, and the sound of a waterfall, they don't sound the same. And so I had a choice. Do I, get upset and say, I can't stand this. I don't like this clacking sound. I need to complain about it, and I need to go and tell the audiologist what to do, or not what to do, but to tell her to change it so that it sounds more like what you remember. When you do this, the brain goes, oh, what? This is not what you want to hear? Fine, I'm going to shut it down. And I'm not going to learn how to take in this waterfall and gradually change it to what I actually hear now with the implant, which is a very rich sounding waterfall that sounds clearer and more crisp than I ever heard with the hearing aid, okay? It takes time. It really takes time. So what we need to do in this auditory brain change stage, and this can even happen with new upgrades to newer versions or more current versions of cochlear implant processors, new hearing aids, new features like the scan or the voice guard or all of those speech and noise features that you have on your cochlear implant. It takes the brain time to figure out how to use this new information so that it actually does what it's supposed to do, okay? So when you get the new technology, hear it, listen to what you hear and say, I'm so grateful that I can hear it, or find something that you like about it, okay? Then you need to take that sound and then thank the brain for trying it. I know I sound really kooky. I sound crazy. I sound nuts, but it is so true. The neuroscience is now coming out that is telling us that we need to practice gratitude to create those conditions in the brain that will allow it to change and become what you want it to be. And you need to thank the brain. You need to cherish and enjoy and savor the new. So when the sound was going, I understood professionally, I understood that my brain was interpreting that sound as a clacking. And I knew that if I would just grit my teeth and just wear it and give it a chance and be positive, then it would gradually morph from that clacking sound slowly to more of a waterfall sound that we recognize. Oftentimes, we might be in a situation where we might hear a sound that is really annoying, or new cochlear implants, especially worn by new users of cochlear implants, can sound very overwhelming and very annoying, and you will get frustrated, and which is normal and it's understandable. but we have to make sure that our brain doesn't feel scared and that it keeps persisting on, and you say, it will get better. It will get better. This is good stuff for you. It's good stuff for you. Come on, try and learn to listen with it. You can do it. Now, you need to do all of this, and it takes 1 month, up to 1 month, until the brain starts to automatically do all of that positive thinking for you. So you're not consciously thinking, you're gonna get it, you're doing great, good for you. It's gonna be automatic, and your brain is going to be able to do it on its own and create conditions, even in scary conditions, even in bad listening situations. The brain is gonna go, oh, we can do it, we're gonna try harder. Let's try and focus in on what that speaker is saying, because that's literally what the brain does. So step 1, you need to have the recipe for ear candy is, or one part or one ingredient for the ear candy is 2 cups of pure positivity. Now that's the yeast of whatever candy, cake, dessert that you're going to be making. And you need to have it during all waking hours. And if you don't, if you have a little bit of negativity in there, the ear candy will not rise or it won't turn out, okay? This is so, so important. Research shows that people who are thinking more positively, who have positive support from the family around them, actually have better outcomes with their hearing technology. Okay, now let me begin the next ingredient part by showing you a video of what it is that I am talking about. Now, this is when I am in a therapy session with my auditory verbal therapist that I used to have when I was a little girl. And I asked him to come with me on my first day of activation, and I wanted him to do therapy with me. I really wanted him to push me to listen and listen quickly after the activation of my cochlear implant. And I was very lucky to have him there. So I will show you what my session looked like with him. This is about a 3-5 minute video, can't really see. And you will see some strategies that Warren uses, like waiting, like asking me a question 3 times, and then he uses a different strategy to help me understand the question or the message that he is giving me. I wonder if you can see any more of these strategies. Have a listen.
Okay, so Karen, I'm going on to the next thing. Are you ready?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I'm going on to the next thing. Are you ready?
You're going to do something. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the letters of the alphabet.
I'm going to tell you the days of the week.
No, the letters of the alphabet. The letters of the alphabet. Okay, Karen, forget what I said. I'm just going to start the task now. Okay, so you don't even know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to start it and you're going to continue. Okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. A, B, C. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F.
One more time.
A, B, C, D, E, F.
G, H, I, J, K.
Okay, so what did I say before that? I said I'm going to
say the letters of the alphabet.
Here it is. So I'm going to give you the letters of the alphabet. Okay?
You're going to start with the letters of the alphabet.
Is that okay?
That's okay?
Is that okay? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the letters of the alphabet. You ready?
You're going to start with the letters of the alphabet now.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, listen.
Okay, listen.
F, G, H, I, J, K.
L, M, N, O, P.
Karen, I'm tired of the alphabet.
You want me to start with the letters of
No,
the alphabet?
I'm tired of the alphabet, so I'm going to go back to counting.
No, you don't need to go back to counting. You can just continue with the alphabet.
Oh.
Start different places.
Okay, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to go back to counting.
Well, I like the alphabet.
What did you hear?
Why don't I want you to go back to counting?
Yes. There's so much information that you're actually getting only through the implant. I said, I don't want to do counting I don't want to do the alphabet anymore. I want to go back to counting.
Say that again.
I don't want to do the alphabet. I'm tired of the alphabet. I want to go back to counting.
Say it one more time.
I'm tired of the alphabet. I want to go back to counting.
You're tired of doing the alphabet. You want to go back to counting.
This is amazing processing.
Okay.
Oh, you want to grab? You want some grab? Yeah, no, give him our regards. Okay. Okay, bye.
Okay. Now it seems quieter now. So what I wanted to share with you is the fact that that was a session that occurred shortly after activation of my implant. And I really thought at that time, before the session, that I could not understand anything. It didn't seem like I could. And so when Warren started out the session, he said, I'm going to do something. And I got that. I'm going to do something. And I was so surprised that I got it. So I had to go into the session feeling positive. And I had to be persistent. I had to be stubborn. I had to be persistent in my, I'm going to get this. I am going to get it. And so when he went through the alphabet, now I'm going to talk about some strategies. When working with people with hearing loss and helping them to learn to listen, one strategy or one ingredient to good listening is to wait for the person to process what they hear. Okay? So I want you to listen to what you heard, and then even if it sounds, what are you going to do on Saturday night? Play that over and over and over again in your head. Think about the context, think about the situation, and then maybe it will come to you. And that is why we need to think and process what we hear before we respond. Or you need to allow the person to process what you said. And that's really important, waiting. Another thing is if a person doesn't get what you're saying through listening, let's say you've tried 3 times and the person didn't understand it. it is quite okay to allow the person to lip read. But once they understand the message through lip reading, you need to put it back into hearing, how you deliver it. So I want you to listen again. And this was Warren showed a really nice example of putting the visual information through lip reading, what I got, back into listening only. And when you do that, it really helps the brain to build new neural connections so that the new auditory skills will develop. And so that the next time you say the same thing, like, what are you going to do on Saturday night? They are going to get it the next time they present it. Does that make sense? I hope so.
Okay, so.
Okay. Now, let's see. So that was all about persistence. So the second ingredient in this ear candy is 2 cups of persistence, or keep it atism. And if you keep trying and you find yourself frustrated, give yourself 3 tries. I call it 3 strikes and the speaker is out. Okay? Do lip reading, or do sign language, or do whatever it is that you need to get that spoken message, and then put it back into hearing. Okay? Now, here's another example of here's an example of the next ingredient that I'm going to be talking about. And it has to do with having family or listening partners involved in the process. That is why when I do therapy with my clients, whether they're very young or whether they're 80 years old, they need to have members of their family, their significant others, or a friend who is able to come and able to spend a lot of time with the new listener. They need to come to therapy sessions, and they need to understand why I'm having, or why the listener is having trouble understanding with the new technology. They need to understand why. And they need to understand what they can do to make it easier for the listener to hear. And number 2, what they can do to help build new auditory skills. The dream of listening and understanding, listening to and understanding speech in the presence of background noise. And so it is really important to have people around you who understand what it is that you are going through and who know what they need to do to make listening easier for you, and who know what they can do to help you build new listening skills, and also who can learn to be positive around you. Because let's face it, you're gonna have really hard days and you're not gonna be able to be positive. And that's when you need your family members to step in and help feed that positivity to your brain. So let's have a look at a session that I did on the second day of activation, where I got a little bit more stimulation from the cochlear implant. And as a result, I was able to hear and understand much better than I was able to understand speech in the previous video that you saw. Here's me with Warren and my daughter, Emily, who was 8 at the time. A note to the captioner: the video is captioned, so you won't need to caption.
Mommy, do you know what color my scissors are?
I'm guessing you're talking to me. Sorry. Okay.
Mommy, do you know the color of my scissors are?
Karen, do you want something?
Okay, Emily's going to say it one more time.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to say it one more time, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Mommy, do you know what color my scissors are?
Can I have a toy for dessert?
Okay, I'll tell you what you, but it was a good guess. You say, that's a good try, Mommy.
That's a good try, Mommy.
Listen, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Emily said, Mommy, do you know what color my scissors are? Do you know
Do you know
what color
what color?
my scissors are?
Do I know what color Mommy's stickers are?
Almost. Karen, you've got it almost right. Do you know what color are? So there's this. Do you know what color my scissors are?
Do I know what color what?
My scissors are. Can I spell that?
Yes.
S
S
C
C
I
R
S S S S
S
S, two S's, S S
S S
O
O
R
R
S.
S.
So the question, now Emily's going to ask you the question again, okay?
Mama,
Karen,
Mm-hmm.
Emily's going to ask you the question again, okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Mama, do you know what color scissors I have?
Do you know what color the scissors are?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
I think they're blue.
No.
No, they're not, Mommy.
No, Mommy.
Listen.
It's the same
Are they
color.
blue?
No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong.
They're the same color as a Christmas tree.
Okay.
They're the same. The scissors are the same color as a Christmas tree.
It's the same color as the
Christmas tree.
green. The Christmas tree?
Very good, guys.
Wow.
Totally awesome. Do you know anything else that's green?
Do you know anything else that's green?
Do I know something else that's green?
Good.
Good.
A frog
Mm-hmm.
and a lion.
And there's
And-
something that grows. There's something that grows.
And what about a banana? A banana is green, right?
No. Yes, it is. If it's not ripe. If it's not ripe.
If it's not ripe.
Very good, guys. 5, 5, 5.
Okay. So in this video, you could see that I was with my daughter and that she asked me, do you know what color the scissors are? And eventually I got to the point where I said, can I have a toy for dessert? And did you notice Emily's reaction when she went, no? And that, as everybody who is hearing impaired knows, it's like it's really like, wow, this is gonna crush me, this is negative. And it makes me feel nervous, it makes me feel bad, it makes me feel all kinds of icky things that the brain doesn't like. But Warren said, that's a good try, Mommy. And that is what positivity is all about. And that's what family members and listening partners need to understand. They need to understand that never mind is not a good response. They need to understand that if you get something, that's a great thing, okay? At least we are trying. And so when she said, that's a good try, Mom, she learned something about how to respond to my inaccurate responses. Then another strategy that Warren used that we really need to teach families how to do, and we need to teach users to know how to do, is to tell the listener what they got right and what they are missing, okay? So, you know, do you know, so that the person knows I'm on the right track. That's another dose of positivity to the brain, and then it sets them up for getting eventual success. And if you noticed, as the session went on, and as Emily did some more with me, you could see that I was having better success with understanding what she was asking me or what she was saying. And that made me feel good, and that made her feel good. And if you noticed, right at the end, I started getting better at understanding speech. And this is the brain that is learning to respond to positivity and is building neural connections that lead to better listening success. That's just the way it is. So what's the next ingredient? Whoops. The next ingredient is, and I'm sorry to plug this, I'm really biased. If you are struggling with listening, I would really recommend that you go to a therapist to do auditory skills training or rehabilitation that is individualized, not group, but individualized with your family members, so that the family members can see that when you're struggling and they're struggling and they get frustrated and the person gets frustrated, they need to learn how to respond in a positive manner so that you can build new listening skills and ear candy. And if the therapy doesn't include a listening partner or the family member, then the ear candy is not going to taste as good as it would if you were to include the family. Okay, so step 4, 2 cups of patience, and learn why what you want takes time. And if the audiologist didn't explain, ask. There is a huge problem in the industry today. We tend to scare patients before getting new technology by saying it's going to take time, or maybe they don't explain the realities of what it takes and the process that is involved in helping the brain learn to listen. So you need to understand that sometimes it takes a long time for these skills that you want to develop. For example, if you get a cochlear implant, the very first, it takes about 6 to 12 months of listening, of actual experience with the implant, before the brain gets to that level of hierarchy of, oh, now I can learn to listen to speech in the presence of background noise. That's a very high level listening task, but it takes time. And so if an audiologist says to you, and this is a classic, I once got new digital hearing aids that had fancy schmancy features called compression. And I couldn't hear very well with it. And so I asked the audiologist why. And they said, you have a new feature in your hearing aid that will take you time to get used to. That's not quite good enough of an explanation. You need to say, why does it take time? What's involved up here? What is happening up here? What is happening with the technology that makes it so that it takes time for my brain to adjust to? You need to ask questions. Be persistent. If the audiologist doesn't give you an answer that you understand, then it is, you need to say, I don't understand this. Can you tell me who I can go to get this information? Okay, because you need to understand that everything takes time, and learning to listen takes time, and that's why you need patience. But you need to know why. Okay.
Hey, Karen. We have about 5 minutes left, so if you could probably wrap up and then we can ask some questions.
Oh, wrapping up already? Okay, so I'm going to do that very quickly. It's amazing how time flies by when I'm having fun. Okay, in 5 minutes, we will finish this presentation. The next slide has to do with the science of expectations. And that is, listening involves so many different parts of the brain, involves so much technology, and there's so much research that's involved. And so the research needs to guide your expectations. So it's very much like going to a gym. Learning to listen in a noisy situation requires a person to be able to lift up 100-pound weights, okay? And well, most people can't do that at first, not unless you're a weightlifter. And so what you need to do in order to get to 100-pound weights or being able to listen in noise is you need to start out with 5-pound weights first and work your way up gradually, okay? So you need to manage your expectations of listening performance with the cochlear implant, okay? So you need to start out at the right level. Don't go too high and don't go too low. You just start out at the right level. You need to think outside the box. Listening is all around you. And we all tend to grasp onto our apps and computer rehabilitation programs that are very helpful. They are, don't get me wrong, but we need to supplement that with the listening experiences that are around us. For example, going outside with a listening partner and just listening to what's going on outside, listening to the bird chirps. Describe what you hear and your listening partner will say, that's the bird. Or I hear a, or I hear a, what is that? That's the car, okay? And then reverse roles. If you can't find a listening partner, take a video of the outside environment, post it online, something like Facebook, and ask people what they hear. And that will help them get involved in your journey of learning to listen better. So that's why you need 2 cups of creativity, because the best training, the best auditory training is all around you, okay? Last and finally, music is a great way to also develop those auditory skills for so many different reasons. But music actually takes the longest to appreciate, to understand, to hear, to understand, and to appreciate. And so there are lots of apps out there that can help you do that. But first, my advice to you, if you are not listening with an app, start out with music that you're familiar with and that you enjoy. And take every little bit and say, I'm grateful for that, and then build on that. And don't give up. A lot of people give up listening with their implant, and they don't realize that, yes, music sounds awful at first, but will eventually morph into something that is more recognizable as long as you keep listening to it. One more thing is I would like to, a new app has come out on the market today by Cochlear Corporation called Bring Back the Beat. We don't have time to go through the video that I found that explains the app so beautifully. It's on YouTube. All you have to do is type in Bring Back the Beat on YouTube, and a beautiful video comes up that explains how the app uses different music programs to help you develop your ability to learn to hear and to discriminate and to appreciate and enjoy the sound of music. So that wraps it up, and I will end this presentation with the last slide with the recipe of everything that you need to make ear candy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen, so much for that. It was a very awesome presentation, and I want to thank Cochlear for sponsoring our webinar today. Gordana, our coordinator of marketing, is going to now ask you some of the questions that came from the audience.
Hi, everyone. Just want to, can everyone hear me? A couple questions that came in regards to Karen, and you did go through it very well in your presentation, is how effective are computer programs that refrain our brains to hear? So I'll just repeat that question. Is how effective are computer programs that retrain our brains to hear?
Computer programs are using recorded sounds and recorded voices. And that's actually the highest level of listening in terms of auditory skills development. And so computer programming, computer programs are good. You just have to realize that we are using recorded voices and recorded sounds that already come to the technology in a degraded way, okay? So we need to be patient with that. Computer programs are as good as the sound quality and are as good as their ability to identify what level of listening you are at. They tend to be too low level or too high level, so it's really important to work with someone who knows about auditory skills development and who can help you figure out what level to start at. And if it's difficult to understand or it's difficult to generalize, then you have somebody with you to repeat and to provide the therapy. They're not perfect, they're not superb, but they're not bad either. And it's a place for everybody to start, and I'm very grateful that we have them out there.
Okay, another question, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Kids with high-pitched hearing loss, how well will they be able to learn speech from watching movies, from computer, TV? One of the people that mentioned that said, my kid is wearing hearing aids and loves watching movies. Should I let the children continue watching movies from a TV or a computer?
Yes, of course. I think so. I'm not really quite sure what the question is again. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, Gordana?
It's regards to learning speech from watching movies from either a computer or TV. The child wears hearing aids and loves to watch movies. Should I let my child continue watching movies from the TV or computer to obviously try to pick up the speech or try to learn from that? Would you recommend that?
Okay. Now I understand the question. In terms of learning to understand speech, and in terms of developing speech and language, screen time, any type of screen time is not helpful. It is very difficult to hear through a television, and some people can do it well and other children can't. I would not use the TV or any app or any screen time as a primary way of teaching children how to listen and talk, because the familiar voice, the live voice, is the best way to develop spoken language, and you need to engage in conversation. And that is another big thing that's coming out in research today, is the ability to engage in conversation with a parent or somebody who is responsive. That is the best way for children to develop listening skills and spoken language skills that are useful for the outside world.
Thank you, Karen, for that. Those are really great questions. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, thank you, Cochlear Americas, for sponsoring our webinar today. And for a lineup of our future programming, and to get the playback or recording of this, visit our website, www.chhha.ca. If you have any suggestions of future programming or webinars you'd like to see, please feel free to email us at info@chha.ca. So thank you everyone for taking your time out on this Saturday, and this webinar should be posted in a couple of days. Again, that email is actually info@chha.ca. So have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you all shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.